like to welcome you to broadcast today for our Bible study. Myself, along with Brother Thurston, and I say that, but you're the one doing all the studying. I'm just sitting here talking. But I do appreciate it. I appreciate you coming and taking the time to do this. A lot of time goes into studying this, and I know that you make sure before you talk that you know that what you're saying is right and it's biblical.
I spend a lot of time.
Well, and that's the thing is you're cautious about that, and I'd appreciate it because a lot of people just talk and they don't really look to make sure that it's biblically correct, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate y'all watching. The study that we're doing right now is on the prophecy, and on, I guess, more specifically, like things that are going to happen in the end time, and we live in that time now. And if you just turn on the news, it's pretty obvious. And so, anyway, I thought that this would be a good study for us to do, and I appreciate you doing it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate, the opportunity to get to do this. I've had a lot of people that call me and tell me how much they enjoyed it. I mean, a lot of people call me, so I'm just glad that we get to do this.
Oh yeah, me too.
So we've been teaching we're about, I guess, a third way through the difference between the rapture and the second coming of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been teaching or reading in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 about Jesus is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
And he's bringing the saints that have already died with him, and the dead in Christ to rise first.
Mm-hmm.
That's talking about a bodily resurrection.
Right.
That's where they'll get their new body. Those alive on earth, they will rise after them.
Mm-hmm.
And it says they shall be changed. So that's the rapture.
Right.
Well, in Revelations 19, we've already read about the second coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's right the opposite. Instead of us going back to heaven with Jesus, in the second coming, he's fixing to come set up his kingdom and put down evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
everybody's coming with him.
Right.
His church is coming with him.
Right.
Yeah.
So this lady called me, and she was saying she enjoyed the program. And she said, I'd like to know when we're raptured out and we go back to heaven, what are we going to do?
Right. Right.
So
that's a good question.
I'm going to try to answer that today if I can.
Good. Yeah, that's a good question.
And she said, what will we do? Well, there's really two or three points I want to bring out here. But according to the prophecy experts, I guess, or the people that have spent their whole life studying prophecy,
right,
they say that when the church is raptured to heaven, that's when the judgment seat of Christ will appear.
Right.
When the church is raptured into heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to look at the judgment seat of Christ and just what it is, and it's going to be really good.
Right.
Because there's some really good things, but the judgment seat of Christ is going to be when Christians stand before Jesus, and they're going to be rewarded for what they done for him here on this earth. And I've got a ton of Bible to back this up.
Right.
But whatever you do for God, you're going to be rewarded for it.
Right.
And that's at the judgment seat of Christ. Now, later on, we'll read about the great white throne judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the lost will stand before God.
Right.
But the judgment seat of Christ is when the church is raptured back to heaven, or raptured into heaven, and they will stand before him there and be rewarded for what they done here on earth. This has been your time to work right now.
Yeah.
This is it.
That's right.
So, the first verse that I want to read it's in 2 Corinthians. I'm excited about this because this is going to be really, really good. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10, here's what he said. Now he writes this to the church.
Mm-hmm.
For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ.
Right.
So he's telling all the Christians here, we're going to appear before the judgment seat of Christ. That everyone may receive the things done in his body according that he has done, whether it be good or bad. And we'll look at that more in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying we're going to stand before God, and we're going to give account to God, and we're going to be rewarded, is what he's saying here. Okay, we can go back to Romans chapter 14 in the book of Romans. And that's something that I want to bring out in this verse. Romans chapter 14, verse 10, here's what he says. Here's what Paul wrote. Why dost thou judge thy brother? And he said, why are you judging one another?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, don't do that.
Right.
Okay. Or why does thou set it not thy brother? In other words, count him for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Christ.
Right.
So Paul writes this to the Romans, and he writes this to the Corinthians.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Matthew chapter 16, I'm going to show you this. Matthew chapter 16. Steve, I really enjoyed looking all this up, studying these.
Right.
Matthew chapter 16, verse 27. Listen what he says. For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels. He's talking about him coming back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he shall reward every man according to his works.
Yeah.
So he's saying, I'm coming back from a church,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to reward everyone for his works.
Right.
So,
Same
same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Then you go to Revelations. Revelations right here. Chapter 22, verse 12. Jesus said, behold, I come quickly. And my reward is with me. Well, he's telling us he's supposed to reward us.
Mm-hmm.
To give every man according to his work shall be.
Right.
So, I mean, there's no
Right. There's
You
no
can't get around
confusion.
that.
I mean, every one of them saying that.
saying the same
Yeah.
thing. I'm coming
Yeah.
back, and I'm going to reward every man according to his work.
Right.
Now, the judgment seat of Christ is in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. This is good. Well, this is good right here. You're talking about something that'll make you accountable. I mean, if you understand that what you do now is going to determine what kind of rewards you have for eternity.
Right.
I mean, it'll make you want to do something for God.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, here we are. And here's what he said. Here's what, I'll just read this. Here's what Paul said. He said, I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So neither is he that planteth anything, nor he that watered, but God that gives the increase.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing as saying, they that build the house labor in vain, except the Lord build it.
Right.
Okay. Now he that watereth, or he that planteth and he that watereth are one. I mean, they're serving the same purpose. And every man, now listen what it says here. Every man, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 8. Every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 8. Let me clear this up. This is not talking about earning your salvation.
Right.
Salvation is free.
Right. Yeah, you can't, I mean, and the Bible clearly spells that
Yeah.
out. You can't earn it.
You cannot earn your salvation.
Yeah.
But this is wrote to the church that are already saved.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor.
Right.
You're going to be rewarded for what you do.
Well, you know, when I was sitting here thinking, that's what I was scribbling down while you were saying that. I mean, this is like if I was working for a company and, well, in other words, right now I'm teaching at school. So they pay me to teach.
Right.
So every day, that's my job. Right. Now, one way you could look at this is if I say, okay, today when I go in, I'm not going to teach school today. I'm going to go dig a ditch out back. And, you know, my boss is going to come to me, the principal, and he's going to say, why didn't you teach class today? And I'm going to say, well, I thought I needed to dig a ditch. Right. And he's going to go, well, that's not what I hired you to do. Right. And the same sense, if I'm working a job and they tell me the harder you work, the more you're going to get paid this week. We're going to pay you based off how much you work. Jesus is saying that.
That's what he's saying.
He's saying the more you work, the more you're going to get paid.
He's not talking to lost people.
That's right. He's talking to the church.
Anyone watching
this thing, and that has nothing to do with salvation.
Nothing to do
not
with
at
salvation.
All.
This is to the church.
This is the people that are saved in Christ and through his mercy and his grace and not by their works. But he is telling those people there is a payday, and I think there's a song that says that. Yeah. There's a payday coming. Yeah. And he don't mean it like there's a payday coming, I'm going to get you. He means there's a payday coming and you're working for it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he said, verse 9, here's what you just said. For we are laborers together with God, or the word laborers means worker.
Yeah.
We're laborers together with God. You're God's husbandry. You're God's building. Now listen what Paul says. He says what you just said. According to the grace of God, which is given unto me as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation. That's talking about Jesus Christ. Whoever who shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Paul said, I've laid the foundation here. You're saved by putting your faith in Jesus Christ. That is the foundation.
Right.
Listen what he says. And another buildeth thereupon, let every man take heed how he builds thereon. So what he's saying, the foundation is Jesus.
Yeah.
Be careful what you build on that foundation.
Yeah. Because you're building it on top of Jesus.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's the foundation.
Yeah.
What you do for God is build it on your foundation.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to stand before God and give an account for your life. So now we're fixing to get in some gold right here. You ready? He said, for other foundation can no man lay, that is laid, which is Christ Jesus. There's not another way to be saved.
Yeah. That's it.
Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by me.
Yeah.
He said, I'm the way to heaven. I'm the way to spend eternity with God. I'm the way. And he said, right in this verse, you can't lay another foundation.
Yeah.
It's done been laid, and it's faith in Jesus.
Right.
But then he's fixing to say some stuff right here that's really good. Now listen what he says. If any man build upon this foundation, it's talking about what you do for God after you're saved.
That's right. You're saved, that's the foundation, and now the building is what you're doing after you're saved.
And he's going to name 6 building blocks. And listen what he says. If any man build upon this foundation, here they are: gold, silver, precious stone, wood, hay, or stubble. 3 are combustible. 3, the fire only makes better.
Yeah.
The gold and the silver
That's right.
just
it just makes it more pure.
But he said, every man's work shall be made known or made manifest. God says, your work is going to be made known what you've done for him.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be at the judgment seat of Christ. It's going to be revealed. Nothing's going to be hidden.
Well, and what you're saying there, I mean, that's even more clear now, because You're saying if I do, I get saved, and if I do something in my life that don't have anything to do with the kingdom, it's just for my glory or my honor or my satisfaction, the fire, which is the trials that we're put through, and the fire is Jesus, the judgment, and him purifying everything. Anything that we built up in our life that's not Christ-like is gone.
It's gone.
It'll burn up.
That's what he's fixing to say.
And then the stuff that we did in our weak way that we tried to do right is the silver and gold. When he burns that, it's going to make it even purer.
More pure?
Yeah, it'll make it pure, period.
Yeah.
And so that's good.
It's good.
Yeah,
right?
that is good.
He said, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire.
Yeah.
It shall be revealed by fire.
Right.
Now this is good. He said, the fire shall try every man's work of what kind it is, or what sort it is. Is it gold, silver, precious stone, wood, hay, or stubble?
Yeah.
What you're doing in your life, are you piling up wood, hay, and stubble?
Mm-hmm.
Are you piling up gold and silver and precious stone?
See, and you could even look at that like, well, I'm going to give money to the church because I know that they'll think good of me if I do that. Well, that's worthless.
I'm fixing to show you that in just a second.
Yeah.
He said, if any man's work abide after the fire,
Mm-hmm.
if any man's work abide, which he has built thereon, he shall receive a reward.
Yeah.
Now listen what it says. Your works are going to be tried by fire. And after the fire tries your works, what you have left is what you're going to be rewarded for.
Mm-hmm.
We're running out of time, but I've got to tell this real quick.
Right.
I was listening to this guy, he pastored a church in Memphis. He was a Baptist preacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the 700 Club. He was on one of those shows I was watching. And he said, God showed him what men you're studying.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I went to seminar. Nobody never told me about the judgment seat of Christ in seminar.
Yeah.
He said, nobody never told me our works would be tried by fire.
Yeah.
And he said, he locked his office door. And this guy's pastor's in Memphis. He said he locked his office door. And he said, God, I'm not coming out till you show me something. I want to know this.
Yeah.
And he said he was down praying, and God showed him people on their knees with piles before them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He said when the fire come down and tried what they had, he said some was shouting. I mean, just praising God and rejoicing. They're going to be rewarded for what they've done.
Right.
He said, but some you've never heard such wailing and weeping.
Yeah.
When they realized that they had wasted their time here on earth, they had wasted it, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, let's read this. If any man's work abide, he has built upon, he shall receive a reward. And here's what it says. If any man's work shall be burned, I mean, these are Christians here, but their life really wasn't nothing.
Right.
What?
Right. No, according to that. That's right.
He shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved as by fire. He's going to make it into heaven.
Right.
Just don't have one reward.
Right.
Now, tell me if we got 5 minutes.
Okay, you got 10 right now.
Good, because I want to show you something. This right here is going to turn a light on. I say the best for last.
All right.
So we got Christians right here. What men you just read.
Mm-hmm.
Some shouting with rewards, and some don't have nothing.
Yeah.
So let's look at how a Christian cannot have nothing. Let's look at that.
Right. All right.
You ready?
Yep.
I'll let you do the explaining. 1 Corinthians 13, here's what Paul says. Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Paul said, though I can speak with tongues of men and angels, and I don't have love, I'm just a racket.
Yeah.
It's a nothing.
That's right.
It's wood, hay, and
It's not
stubble.
effective.
Well, he said it's just a racket.
Well, I mean, if I love my kids, and I'll do anything for my kids within reason to help them. That's shown in my action. It's shown in what I do for them. If I tell them I love you, and then my daughter comes to me and says, can you keep our son today? We need to work on something at home. It's very important. And I go, no, I can't really help you. And they ask me that for a month, and I keep saying it, and I say, but I love you. Well, my love is worthless because I'm not willing to back it up by action. I'm just saying it. I'm not really doing anything. And real love will make you act out. Real love will cause you to act out and do things that show that love. Yeah.
Okay. He said, though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries. That's a pretty smart person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all knowledge. Really smart person. And though I have all faith, that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing.
Yeah. Because all that goes back to one simple verse or one simple phrase. It's in the Bible. God is love.
But you wonder here how a Christian at the judgment seat of Christ,
how they can be a Christian and not have love for others.
Well, you wonder how they can just have a bunch of hay in front of them.
Yeah.
Well, God said here what we do, even though we're active. We're teaching and singing and preaching and giving and doing this and that. But God says if it's not done in love, it's nothing.
Yeah.
If it's not done in love, it's nothing.
Well, I mean, if you give simply for the sake of other people seeing what you give, then you might as well not give.
See, that's the next lesson you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, because it's worthless. I mean, it's not, you're only doing it for praise.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at this. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, that's a martyr. And I give everything I've got to the poor and have not love, this is what God says. It profits me nothing.
So if it profits
nothing,
and it profits that person, then that person has the opportunity to be paid. Well, when I look at that, that's what I think, because it says it profits me nothing. Well, why would he say that unless it means that it could have profited you something? Yeah.
That's why Jesus said, lay up your treasures in heaven.
Yeah, where moth don't.
Is that not what he said?
Yeah, moth and rust.
And rust does not corrupt. Thieves do not break in and steal. That's what Jesus said.
Right.
Lay up your treasures in heaven, for where your treasures is, there will be your heart also.
Yeah.
He said, lay them up.
Yeah. That's right.
You know, the really thing about it's really makes you stop and think. At the judgment seat of Christ, God is not only going to judge our actions, but he's going to judge our motives.
Yeah. Yeah, why did you do that?
Because, see, these people that you're reading about, they're martyrs, they're giving, they're wise, they're teaching. They've got all the action here. But their motive is wrong.
Yeah.
it's not because they love God or love people.
Yeah.
It's maybe to impress somebody.
Well, you know, when I think about that, when you say that, if I give at church, and I've had this happen before, and if I give at church and then I run into somebody during the week and he says, you know, hey, can you help me out? I need some help. And I go, get out of here, you bum. I mean, I never said that. I don't mean that happened. But if I said that, it shows there's a contrast to me giving at church and me helping somebody that I don't even know.
One time I pastored this church. And this man went to my church. He was a preacher. And this lady, she was real old. She's an elderly lady, and she lived beside him. I mean, just, you know, house two down.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived at this part of town, and the church is on this part of town. And, you know, he went right by our house to come to church, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And you know, she told me, said, I need to go to church. Her husband had died. I need to go to church. Would you get somebody to pick me up? I said, sure. I said, I asked this guy, I said, you mind stopping by? You know, it's next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
He said, this can't do it, Brother Thurston.
It's okay to love some people, just not all of them. I know.
This woman was precious.
Right.
But he wouldn't pull in her driveway
Yeah.
and let her just get in his car and back out of the driveway and go into church.
Yeah.
He said, I just can't do that.
Well, you know, because all this boils down to, if you were on trial for being a Christian, and I've heard this said many times, is there enough evidence there to convict you of being a Christian? It'll show.
It'll show.
It'll show. I mean, people will know you're a Christian without you having to put on a shirt that says, I am a Christian.
Yeah.
They'll know it.
Well, what I heard one time, it says you can give without loving. That's what that says.
Yeah,
But you can't love without giving.
that's right. No, that's absolutely right.
If you love somebody, you're going to help that person.
And that's what that's saying. And if you have God, if you truly have God in your heart, God is love. If you truly follow Him, it's going to spill out of you. It's going to run over. It's going to spill on other people because God is coming out of you.
Well,
We got about a minute.
a minute.
Yeah.
John 3:16 says, God so loved the world, or we can put it this way, God has such a great love for the world
Mm-hmm.
that He gave.
Yeah.
He gave His best.
Yeah.
That verse says, God's great love made Him give the best He had.
Yeah.
That was His Son.
Yeah, that's right.
His love is what made Him give the best He had.
Mm-hmm. And He expects us to follow His example.
Well, if we want the gold and the silver,
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Steve, have you enjoyed this?
I have too. This has been good. I appreciate you doing this.
I hope we answered that lady's question. That
Well, I think you have. I mean, it sounds like you did. Well, again, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I'm excited for the next time we study and see how much deeper we get into this. And it's good. It's stuff we need to know.
Yes,
Days we live in, this is important.
it is.
It's very important. It's the most important thing. And I appreciate you folks watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I'm sure you have. And I pray that this next week, if you see somebody that needs help, if you see something you can do to show the love of Christ, that you would do that.